I'm Alexa Fischer. This is the Wishbeads podcast, and I am so honored. I have Will Reed with us all the way from Japan. Now,
Yes.
Will and I have to share a little bit about our background because I met Will. Thank you, Will, by the way. I'm so excited you're here. Now I'm talking to you, not the podcast people.
Right. Thank you.
Because you came actually from my teaching side. And I don't know if people in the Wishbeads world know that, yes, I was an actress and then I became a teacher. And along my journey, I started recording online courses. And that was my way to figure out how I can help people, which is really learning how to be confident communicators, whether it's on stage or on camera. And you're one of my students.
Yes, I am. It's still,
Yeah,
still very much so, yes.
And what is so cool, also, we have another shared love, which is martial arts. So you are, I mean, I don't know what, I don't know if it's even rank. I am now a student of Isshinryu Karate. I used to be a student of Aikido. I know that Aikido is your passion. I don't know if there's a ranking system, but I know you're very accomplished in Aikido.
There is a ranking system. I'm an 8th degree black belt, and I've been doing it this will be my 48th year.
Okay, friends, if you know anything about degrees, and I do, that is wildly impressive, like wildly impressive. And I love Aikido. It is is the martial art of self-defense. So it's really about energy, and it's about using energy and learning how to tap into it, redirect it. And it's so beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. I loved practicing Aikido. And I'm just in a different chapter studying Isshinryu with my family, but I have always had also a very deep affinity for Japan. Did you know that my course, my 1,000-watt presence course, is actually translated in Japanese?
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It is.
Send me the link because I'd like to introduce it to my Japanese friends who don't speak English, which is the majority.
It's been, I know, and you would be able to see, you do speak Japanese, correct?
Of course, yeah. I've been, it's funny because somebody recently who had a YouTube channel with 18,000 followers, and a Japanese man living in the United States who teaches people how to speak natural Japanese. And he asked my permission, but he says, can I use one of your videos because you're doing it exactly like a native speaker? And so he just kind of picked apart, and I'd never had that. But I do find that when I speak with Japanese all the time with my friends, and suddenly the phone will ring and I'll get on in English and everybody's like, oh, your English is so good. But Alexa, even more funny than that, the other day I had a chance to teach 7 entrepreneurs from San Diego. So obviously they're Americans. I'm American. I was born in St. Louis. And so we did a workshop for 1 hour, but then they heard that I'd been in Japan for 48 years. Well, I first came here 48 years ago, and I don't know if they assumed that I was born here or something or what, but they said, hey, your English is just like ours. You speak like just this awesome. I was like, well, thank you. I was born in 1952, actually.
And I lived in St. Louis.
A little practice.
Oh, it's so cool. Well, Will, I know you were, for everyone listening, Will is really phenomenal. We've gotten to know each other just over email. This is our first time we're actually, connecting, not necessarily in person, but really connecting live.
Yeah.
And I've just been so amazed by your YouTube channel. You've been teaching people about passion and purpose and learning how to turn your passion into profits. But you've been living this wild life. I'd have to hear, and I would love for you to share how 48 years ago, I'm imagining a trip to Japan led for you to really change your life completely and open up this beautiful new pathway for yourself in this deep love of Japanese culture, martial arts. And just, can you share a little bit about I just need to start there.
Sure. Okay. Well, actually, it goes back more than 48 years. It goes back to 1963 when I was 11 years old and walking home from school. The classical thing that they used to even have in the comics, when the bully kicks sand in your face and takes away your girl, what do you do? Well, it was, being bullied on the way home from school that led me to find a book called The Power of Aikido
Yeah.
but no teacher, no dojo, no place to practice. But I did have 2 younger brothers who I could experiment on.
Oh my gosh.
And to this day, when you mention the word Aikido, they like, ooh, I think I.
We remember we were the punching bags.
Yeah,
we were being thrown on the floor.
But that book, then 9 years later, I came upon that book in my college bookstore, and the book next to it was the book by the man who became my sensei, my teacher. And I said, okay, this is it. There's a living master. I'm going to Japan to do this, and I never looked back.
Wow. I mean, that is so, it's really, really brave. And it's just amazing to hear. It's just amazing to hear.
Well, it was motivated totally by fear.
Well, it's interesting because my current sensei, he also was really bullied. He was really bullied, and karate gave him a sense of self, and it gave him a sense of confidence.
Yes.
And he became a very, very well-known fighter. And then he really is a very passionate teacher. He no longer fights professionally, but he was very kind of decorated or successful in that regard. But it's I think it's so much more than, it's not really about the fighting. It's so much more about the integration and the awareness of self.
Absolutely.
And I know we both share this idea of helping people find their passion, to move towards it. But I think what's so fascinating is, it's like, for me, I wasn't even really thinking about martial arts again, but I was so sort of in fact, you would appreciate this. I'm going to tell you this story. I think I'll probably end up doing a podcast recording with my sensei, but he was actually teaching my boys. So I have 2 boys who are now 11 and 13, but they were little when we started taking them to karate, because friends of ours went, and I knew he was a great teacher. So I'm watching them, and I'm so impressed with the way he's teaching them, and also just sort of what they're getting just from being exposed to martial arts. And so after about 1.5 years, he said, I'm going to be starting an adults class. And if you want to take an adults class, it won't be the same time. It'll be later in the evening. And I first thought was like, I don't have time for that. No. But I thought it was so cool to watch him do the katas in particular.
Yeah.
That I thought, okay, I want to be like 85 and doing those katas. That was my thought. So I said to my sensei, okay, so I'm thinking about the adult class. My husband and I were both thinking about it. I'm thinking about the adult class. I said, but here's the thing. I don't really want to fight. I don't want to spar. So could I test for my belts just doing the katas? And he goes, and he said, sure. And I was like,
what it is.
Well, it may be that way in Aikido, but not in Ishinryu karate. Because when I started, we started, and then you don't get your white belt right away in this practice. You have to earn your white belt. So a couple months go by, and I'm learning the things, and we're doing this and that, and it comes time getting closer to testing. And I've noticed that we are sparring. We're practicing and we're sparring. And sure enough, we get a little bit closer to the test, and I'm like, sensei, I'm just double checking. Like, I don't actually have to fight to get my belt. And he's like, oh yeah, you do.
So he led you that far, but then
he tricked me.
But
he did a little trick.
Ready, maybe.
Yeah, he did a little trick because he said I had to do that, because if I told you had to fight, you wouldn't have started. And he was actually quite correct. I wouldn't have started. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm many, many years later, and I'm actually about to test for my purple belt. Nice. Yeah, so it's just been a wild ride. It's been a great ride. And because it teaches you, when you do things that scare you, you grow. You just grow.
Yes. Well, Alexa, it's interesting you mentioned karate, because I was recently commissioned to do a poetry painting for a high-ranking karate sensei in the United States, Japanese guy, by one of his students. So since it's a surprise, I can't tell you the specific, names yet, but I do have a preliminary that I've done that I'd like to show you if you'd like to see it.
I would.
Because calligraphy is one of the things that I do. Now, it's probably bigger than the screen, so I'll kind of work from the bottom up. Let me tell you what it is first. The picture is I did from a photograph of a pine tree that hanging on the edge of a cliff, which is evidently eroded out almost completely from underneath it, but the branches extend out over the ocean, and it's got these roots that's like fighting against the elements, and then the ocean underneath it, and then the characters are Kenzen Ichinyo, which literally means that the fist and Zen are one, or maybe a better English translation would be the fist of Zen. So it's a karate phrase. And okay, so this, I don't know if I can't get it all in, but I'll just start.
Gorgeous.
So this is the pine tree, and it's like on the edge, and then I use the a large brush to create the effects of the cliff, which goes down to the bottom.
Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous.
And then here's the Ken, this means fist, and then Zen, and then one thing, or Ken and Zen are the same. And then it's got my signature and seals. I can't step back far enough.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely stunning. I'm so glad we're doing this on video.
Yeah, thank you. Well, this is actually not the final version. I'm going to be adding some like water and things like that. And as I say, it's a surprise, so I can't reveal the source yet. But I've recently, calligraphy is the other thing I do, and I actually have a 10th. It's not really a black belt, but the same thing, a 10th degree level in calligraphy. So it's even more which I've been doing about the same time. And but I struggled for years to find because it's written in Chinese or Japanese. So obviously most English speakers can't read it. Okay, and even if you translate it, and sometimes even Japanese can't read it if it's cursive. Mm-hmm. So finding, you have to tell them what it says, and then for non-Japanese speakers, to give them English translation, and that was okay. But then it just dawned on me just recently, if I want to really take this to the world, I need to add sumie painting to it. So it's called a poetry painting, because then you have a simple translation and a picture and a story behind it, which is where you're coming from as well, right? Then it becomes a super, it's a talking piece. Yeah. It's a meditation reminder of what's important to you. It's a great gift. It's a kind of a power center as a decorative piece in your room or dojo. Yeah. It's so many things once you add the story and the picture.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful and so powerful.
Well, and as you doing karate, you can relate to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace before war, hidden fist. Yeah. That's what it is. I'm more peace.
I did
less war. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You. Will, I don't really get to meet. My husband is very much, he does sumi ink painting as well.
Oh, nice.
But he not, professionally or whatever. But it's so unusual and so refreshing to see people to meet someone really living their passion, really making that giant leap into the unknown. And in your case, really making a whole life somewhere else in a totally different environment, and really connecting so deeply to a culture and really making it your own. And also the spirit that I felt, through the time that we've been corresponding, that you have this childlike curiosity, this passion for learning, that, because I know that it is very, very challenging to get to the degrees that you've achieved. I mean, just knowing a little bit that I know about martial arts, it is tremendous amount of dedication. Can you attribute something to your drive as a learner? Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. Super. Yeah. No, I do have a lot of curiosity. My daughter says that psychologically I'm probably still 15 years old. Definitely younger than her, but I take it as a compliment, because to me, curiosity is what drives. It may have killed the cat, but the cat's got 9 lives, right? So it's really I think it's the seed of passion. And the problem is that we're taught not to be curious, not to ask questions. And we're taught also to be maybe encouraged to be curious, but not about what you're passionate about, but what somebody else is passionate about, or someone else's agenda. And then so you got to be more motivated, and you got to drive yourself. And it just, you can't keep doing that. You're going to burn out at some point.
Yeah.
And so actually there's an interesting story that goes back to when I think I finally clicked when I came to Japan in 1972 as a college student. And my professor at college, his professor was Edwin Reischauer, who was the ambassador to Japan in the 1960s. And I met Reischauer once, and he said in his talk, I'll never forget it, that when he was ambassador in Japan, there was one question that always embarrassed him because he didn't have a satisfying answer, and that was, what is your Schumi? Now, Schumi is generally translated as hobby, but it's much deeper than that. The characters mean to run and to take hold of and to taste. So it's more of a passion, right? So what is your passion? That's amazing.
Wait, let's just say that again. Okay. To run and to take hold of and to taste?
Yeah. So the first character is a combination of two radicals, meaning to run and to take hold of. So that's the first character. And so it's kinds of directing your mind to something. And the other is to taste. And in order to taste something, you have to put it in your mouth. You have to ingest it. So but that's translated as hobby. No, I don't think so. It's not like, just, it's not a pastime. But, and also the Japanese at that time, more than now even, they would assign ranks to their hobbies, as they do with karate or the game of Go, or almost anything that has a do or a way or path.
A way, yeah.
Yeah, it always has a school and ranking, and they call it Dan in the martial arts. It would be black belt, but they use the Dan system for almost everything. And so they would say, yeah, so they would ask Reischauer, what is your hobby? And he's talking to a person who has like a fifth Dan in the game of Go, and maybe a third Dan in Kendo or something like that. And that was sort of the natural way that they would use to polish themselves, to reflect on and raise their level by studying formalized kata and going through the ranks, right? So, but it was done not necessarily professionally, but it was something we were quite committed to. Well, he had to search, what's my Schumi? And he said, golf, but he answered it with a question mark at the end because he wasn't sure if that qualified. I'm sure it does for some people, but it didn't for him in that case. And he said he felt like he was admitting to a personal deficiency or a character flaw that he didn't have.
He didn't really have his.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some field of study in which he could actually, pursue and polish his passion.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, that's it. That's, and for me, Aikido was the first, and then came calligraphy. And of course, these things take time, and they take effort and discipline, and they start to cost money as you get higher in the ranks, or you need to buy equipment. And so the first barrier that you encounter, other than limiting beliefs or fatigue or just excuses or being lazy, is you got to find a way to create the time, and you got to find a way to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when I was doing...
Sometimes those challenges are the very thing that keep you... Yes. It's like it's the game board. But I also think, you've touched on so many things. There's also, because I'm actually, of course, I'm sitting here in America, and I'm thinking more of an American mentality. And what I see in, not just my peers, but my students and things, is that there is this idea that I want it, and I want it now. And I want to be an expert now. And I want it to magically happen. Or I'm just going to assume that I had to be born a certain way. And there is this beautiful perspective of time that you just tapped on, that there's an understanding in different cultures that the cultivation of some sort of expertise or ranking takes discipline, commitment, and time, that this is not some sort of race. Because I don't know how it is in a Japanese culture, and you've got this interesting hybrid, because in a way you've Japanese American or American, I don't know how to call it, but we have this belief somehow, or this messaging that happens in America, where you kind of cultivate who you are at a certain period in your life. And then when you get older, it's like, well, now you're done. You retire. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Well, I love that.
It's interesting, Alexa, because The way I think of it, and here's where we get back to curiosity, is that yes, you can get some transformation now, every moment that you're practicing, and you should be. Yep. So you don't have to wait like 5 years to even get your first insight. It's there every single time. But the cool thing about it is that if you really pursue it with humility and keep the curiosity and passion alive, the same thing can be said 10, 15, 20 years later.
Yes.
So like my father, at one point, I'd been doing Aikido for 10 years. And he asked me, haven't you graduated from that Aikido yet? And I had to smile because there's no graduation for anything that is away. And so I thought I was being like giving some wisdom back to my father. Well, there is no graduation in Aikido. So paused a moment and he said, are you sure you're not being taken advantage of?
Oh.
Which the perspective was, 4 years college, you graduate, 10 years, how come you still haven't graduated? I get that perspective, but it's not really what I was doing. So
it's it's different. It's different. How, sometimes when I talk to people, especially about wishing or goal setting, is they're very concerned about what other people are thinking about that. That if they're wishing for something or something comes up when they're doing a visualization and their life looks very different. How did you how did you deal with, especially because you made this radical change? I'm sure when you left to go study Aikido, it was like, that's going to be something. He'll be right back in a year.
Yeah. You can't make a living.
So how do you handle, or how do you recommend and teach the people that you're working with, like the pursuit of passion, and also, wrestling with it may not be somebody else's passion or wish for you?
Okay, that's an excellent question, and that's actually what I address in my work. And because I feel like I'm on a parallel path, I need to pursue my own passions and make sure that I am actually profiting from my passions. I need to demonstrate that I'm doing it, and not just coaching about a process that I learned from somebody else. But at the same time, those are my passions. Now, it would be great to me if people would become my calligraphy student or start doing Aikido, but I realize that's a very small number of people. And I had very special reasons for being motivated and for staying motivated, and also excellent teachers. So I can't really expect someone else would pursue my passions. However, looking back over the years, and this summer I'll turn 68, so that's a lot of years to look back over. But I realized there is a process to it. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to teach the process of pursuing your passions at the same time that I actually pursue my passions.
Yes.
So I can use examples from my own life and also test the process as I keep going.
Yeah.
So it's not just teaching something that I read about. Okay. So, but I've figured out there are 4 levels to this. Okay. You need to, it starts with mystery, because what do I do? Is this the right thing for me? And so you start with mystery and you move towards mastery, and using the martial arts model that involves transformations in your mind and your technique and your body, and they must be unified. So in Japanese, it's called Shingi Tai, and it's the fundamental method of training in martial arts. Okay, so the 4 steps are: you need to pledge, that is, find clarity for your top 5 passions. I use Janet Atwood's passion test to start there. Okay, so you have to pledge and be really clear about your passions, and be willing to just say, I'm going to focus on these 5, and the rest will take care of themselves. Okay. Then you need to pursue your passions, which is a lot about putting it on a calendar, so that you and I have a tool for that called the Mandala Chart, which is a 3x3 matrix. And instead of making a to-do list, because to-do lists can become a tyrannical force in your life and you beat yourself up for not completing them, but they're harder to shave down, that they grow by themselves like ivy, right? So I stopped making to-do lists, because the cool thing is, once I clarified my passions, I found that serendipity started to kick in. And so things that would happen to me that were not goals, in fact, I didn't even know they existed, but they just happened, come into my life, that were better than I could have imagined, because I didn't even know that was possible. Yep. So now it's and I've started keeping a journal. So putting that on a calendar is not quite as important as keeping a journal of coincidences. As Deepak Chopra says in his great book, Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, he came up with this term called synchrodestiny. So once you get into synchronicity, but to trust the process, you write it down. Well, this couldn't have happened. That's just too unusual. And I'll go into a few examples of that if we have time later. But the first part is you pledge, you get clarity on your top 5 passions, and then you pursue them, which means you have to actually do something about it and put it on a calendar. And oftentimes action will create the knowledge that you need to know. You don't have to know first in order to do. You have to do in order to know. Yep. So, and then you need to find a platform to present your passions on, which you inspired me a lot with your Udemy course, how to look confident on camera. And of course, I've also been doing television and documentary work, but to put it on a platform that's consistent. So I've been really working on my YouTube channel, trying to make new videos every day, and just getting comfortable with not having to be perfect about it, but actually also getting super inspiration. So I don't even have to even stress about the content. It just comes to me. So you have to find a platform to present. And then the last part is very important. You need to find out how to profit from your passions, because first you figure out how to pay for them and create the time, which is a challenge. But then once you get the momentum, you start to get credentials and you build trust. So people say, oh, I like what you're doing. Maybe I don't want to copy what you're doing, but I like the way you're doing it. So I want to learn how you did it. And the way you do that is through entrepreneurial work. Now, I'm a member of something called geniusu.com. It's a brilliant platform started by Roger Hamilton. And it's got more than 120 million members worldwide who are entrepreneurs. And there's all these really cool micro degrees that you can study inside. And I also have been creating content inside that platform. So basically,
that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So, but basically the whole point of that is you have to learn how to be entrepreneurial because, well, for example, now this coronavirus is just wiping out so many events canceled,
I know.
It's just, and people are getting way too crazy about it because the normal flu is much more dangerous.
I know. And everyone says that. And it's like,
but
the flu is genuinely very dangerous and much more like everywhere than this coronavirus. I agree. It's crazy.
So build your immunity, folks. It's like that's you should do that anyway. And of course you need to be cautious about not hanging around crowds and wear a mask when you can. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face without washing your hands. I mean, that's just common sense. But basically what that has done, it's driven so many like seminars or live events being postponed or canceled. And so if you were depending on that for your profit, then you're in trouble, well, you're challenged. And I think a lot of it now is going to be figuring out how you can put your passion on a platform and profit from it on a platform that is the internet based.
It's true. And I also think that one of the reasons why I've been an online instructor for so long, and I'm actually going to be launching something new on my website, is because I believe in the power of connecting and helping. Well, first helping people. Yeah. Helping people. You have something that you love to do. I have a desire to teach other people and to take my skill set and be able to break it down and make it really easy for people. And I think that I accidentally stumbled into the whole online video course thing because it was how I figured out my methodology was to simply map it out and speak it. And I would do it on camera, and I did it in a room above a garage by myself. And all these years later, it is such a profound honor to have like I think it's 80,000 students around the world. And here we go, like friendships that have begun just because like people found my courses and they study with me. And it's such an honor. And I also thought like, here we are in this wild age that, where people may actually be relying more on connecting, online. So if you're someone who is listening to this and having an idea, again, it takes time to just get curious and see, how might you be able to support yourself? Or if money and making money is not an issue, how can you be of service with your skills and talents and love and put that in motion? Because I feel like the cat is out of the bag, friends. Like if you want to do something, get out there and do it.
And do it. Yeah.
People that are doing it. And I mean, there may be people that are listening that it would seem so intimidating to them to go move to a foreign country, even though they've always wanted to, because it's scary and different. And just hearing your story, it's I'm sure, very inspirational.
Well, thank you. But the thing, it's also like people look at somebody who's passionate about something. You can even get back to golf, and I don't play the game, but I know some people who are quite passionate about it. And it's like, you know, how can you be out there all of the, regardless of the weather and all the time? And isn't it like boring and repetitive? No, it's not. No. It's always different for them. You know, they're always learning. They're always, so it looks like they're working really hard, but in fact, they're really playing hard. You know?
Definitely. And there's something to be said for playing hard, because I will tell you, I do a lot of things in my life, and I have, you know, I'm teaching, and I have Wishbeads, and I am a mom, and I have friends and all that sort of stuff. But I also just started taking ceramics classes.
Oh, nice.
5 hours a week. And can I tell you how much fun it is? It is so much fun. And and this is like really devoting time to something that I frankly don't imagine ever turning into anything more than my passion project for myself. And probably all the recipients of people who will get pottery gifts. But it's really important for your soul to play. And I would imagine when you're doing calligraphy, the idea that you are operating from a different place in your mind, you know, whatever that is, for people, that you get to that transcendent place where you're in creativity, you're in flow, and then you come out of it and you're just feel differently.
Well, you know, and you're not thinking while you're painting about how much money you're going to make or how you're going to sell it. That's totally different mind. You know, it's like you're going to be producing crappy work if you do that. You know?
Yeah, it's so true. But I think even in the pursuit of things that are potentially going to be our business, and I talk to so many people that are really looking to find the thing that's going to replace, let's say, their day job, you know, like the day job. And I would say that to fuel your soul as you do the important work, as you mentioned, the commitment, the time, the visioning, the execution, is to make also time for those places where that it doesn't even feel like work. And of course, in an ideal scenario, and you know this, the work that you're doing to make money should be part of that bucket of things that you love to do, that it doesn't feel like work, you know?
Yeah.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, you know, people talk a lot about the law of attraction, and it seems to work for some people and not for others. But in my feeling, just from recent experiences, that it works if you make the first move, right? Yeah. So if you take the action, I'm just, the image came to my mind of the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo showing God reaching down from the cloud and touching the finger of Adam to put this. So it's a mutual reaching, right? That creates the
co-creation.
Co-creation. Yeah. And just give you just a quick example of serendipity, because there's no way to explain how this could have happened, and it wasn't designed, but this is really typical of the things I've been putting in my journal. So you see the jacket that I've got on, it's actually called a surcoat. It's a samurai. It's got
it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, these are samurai family crests, which is the inner lining. And so people say, where did you get that? And I say, well, wife.com. And she's not making any more for the outside. They're not for sale. But anyway, this is called a kamon, which means family crest. So, and I wear this a lot, but I was recently invited to Kanazawa. It's a beautiful city that has never had any natural disaster and wasn't bombed in World War II. So it's got all these ancient, architecture and everything still preserved. So went there for 3 days to speak at a conference on Budo as martial arts tourism. Okay, and this was in January. And they said, okay, we'll pay your hotel, we'll pay your transportation, and just keep the receipts. So I went to buy the tickets, and there was two choices. I could make one transfer which, or I could make 2 transfers, which meant a 45-minute layover in Nagano on the way. So, they're going to pay for it. There was no reason, and it was 3,000 yen cheaper to take the layover style. And, there was no reason, and it wouldn't have been a big deal, but I said, I'll save them some money. I don't mind, I'll do some reading or something. So I took the cheaper one. And I was there like 4 days, and I was on my way back, and I did the 45-minute layover in Nagano. And then I got on the train at this really countryside small station, and I sit down, and this older couple comes and sits right in front of me. The train was almost completely empty, but they happened to have reserved seats right in front of me. And they noticed this thing, and they said, "Oh, Kamon, are you interested in Kamon and family crafts?" Yeah, I love it. I teach samurai culture at college. I'm really into it. Said, "Well, do you mind if I sit next to you?" So for 45 minutes, we talked, and the guy, his aunt had just passed away and left a number of things. And he said he has a book from on Kamon that was printed before the war. So it was in the 1930s, and it's about the Heian period, like the 700s and stuff, and all the Kamon.
Oh my goodness! Wow!
And how they're designed. So he said, "I've been looking for somebody to give this to." Explains all the design and how the meanings and everything. Would you be interested in a copy? I said, "Oh, yes." No. And this was just how the chances of something like that happening.
It's so
I guess
beautiful.
It was my reward for saving the sponsor 3,000 yen, and I get this priceless book that's 80 years old and pre-war. Is like amazing. But this is just one. I've been keeping a journal and things like this. I think I've logged maybe in the first 2 months of the year. I've logged maybe 250 or more such coincidences.
Okay,
and that's not even.
That is okay. That is obviously. Wait, hold on one second. Night has descended here in Santa Monica. I'm going to try to turn on light. Hold on.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
It's very dark. I'm so in love with the fact that you just shared that you write this down. I am so into this. I mean, obviously, Wishbeads. There's a huge part of Wishbeads which is about vision, writing it down. You've got your Wishbeads. So awesome.
And a necklace on the way. Yeah, this is Tiger Eye, and I've got for courage, and I've got amethyst. The necklace is on the way, should arrive soon, for trust and intuition. So
you're just the coolest. Oh my gosh. Will, so great. But I love this idea, and I always encourage people. So Wishwork, it is not just the visioning and writing down all the details and seeing what, this moment. So people even consciously may not know what brings them joy, bliss, the moment that everything feels just right. But your inner being does. So if you connect with that, but then the 21 days, I love the fact that there's so much power in the 21 days. Invite you to do an exercise, reflect on it, and write about it at night. But what you have done is taken it to a whole new level. And then imagine after that 21 days, really keeping that journal of that time where you get like the high five from the universe or the wink from the universe, or like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. And then what happens is that when you can record it and write it down, in a way, you're capturing the energy. You're bringing it down and anchoring it.
Yeah.
And so inevitably, when you have those moments when you're feeling a little less supported, or you're feeling a little off track or whatever, life happens, it knocks you down a little bit, you read anything, you flip a page and you read that, and you instantly drink from that, energy well.
Yeah. And you start to recognize patterns too. And actually this idea of writing it in a journal, which journal is the same root of the word journey, right? And it's not just like a diary where you just wrote what you did that day. It's you particularly note coincidences. Now, this was not my idea. I got it from Deepak Chopra's book, Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. It's a super book. He talks about how we are all connected, and the mechanism, even because he's a doctor and he knows science, right? Even in terms of physics, how we're all connected. And then how you have your local self, which you tend to identify with, and everybody identifies you as that. And maybe you get trapped in that identity, and you try to change that identity, and people say, hey, you can't, you're not that, you have to do this.
Right.
But then there's your non-local self, which is more connected to nature. change and relationships. So your non-local self is not clinging to or attached to a particular aspect of yourself, but it's more distributed and it's more connected. And then when you connect to that, you find all these things start happening, and like even your dreams start getting clear. And I a lot of these stories I've actually putting in my daily videos on my YouTube channel. So I hope you'll
we'll tell everybody what your YouTube channel is. We're going to put links on it to everything. Okay,
great. Well, I'll send you the links later, but basically the quick way to find it is you go to my website, which is www.samurai-walk.com. Samurai is SAMURAI-WALK.com. And if you scroll down, you can see the manga story of the bullying that we talked about. You can see a link to my YouTube channel, and that basically lots of playlists, but a lot related to passion. But just one that I posted recently that was really amazing. I've been having this recurring dream for 5 years now since I moved out of Tokyo to Yamanashi, just in the middle of the mountains. I don't know if you can hear the temple bell ringing in the background, but anyway, we're surrounded by mountains.
Sunday morning there. It's nighttime here, but
yeah. But so I have this wonderful dream that I was like in a cave or some sort of surrounded by like waterfall or some rock features, and I would go there and get inspiration, sometimes meet with people, and it was just such a cool place. And then I would wake up and the ideas would kind of fade in the mist, and then I couldn't quite capture it. And then, but this dream would happen 2-3 times a year, and each time it would be a little, yes, this must be a place that I can go, because I get this deja vu time every time. But I always thought, well, okay, it's in my dream. And then this happened to me just the other day, just on leap day, just yesterday, because we're a day ahead of you.
Oh, right, because it's my day.
And, yeah.
I'm still there.
I had the dream, and it like, I've been there recently. I even have photos of it and video. And so I captured all that. It's a place called the Shosen Gorge. It's one of the most gorgeous places in Yamanashi. It's got waterfall, mountains, rocky features like from a Chinese ink painting. And that is actually where we're planning to do take a group for training. And on Nanba, I call it Art of Physical Finesse, Nanba walking and idea generation. And it just clicked for me. That place actually exists. It's 20 minutes by car from where I live. And I can go there anytime. And interestingly, it's amazing. Also the home to, you'd be interested in this, it's the Yamanashi Prefecture is one of their famous resources is crystals. So they have all these crystal deposits, stones, And so it's like, wow.
I'm coming. And then, I'm coming.
Yeah. Well, when you come, we will definitely take you to all these power spots. But
yeah,
just amazing.
That sounds totally magical, and it is. It's like going into the quantum field, and you saw where you were meant to go, what you were destined to connect to, and you stay open and curious, persistent, committed. Yeah. And sure enough, that is what falls into your reality. Yeah. Is you're just moving into it. And I'm so grateful that you've had the courage and curiosity to put your teaching out into the world, because it's a real gift to people that didn't even know that this is possible. And the people that are drawn to you, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. And I think it's phenomenally, it's an act of selfless giving. It really is. It is.
Thank you.
I mean, make money at it. Absolutely. 100%. Do very, very well financially, but it also comes from a place and I think people have to understand that when you are creating, it's not just like, I'm creating for me to have a business, or for me to launch my courses or my channel or whatever it is. Really, in doing so, you're reaching an olive branch out to somebody. And even in a little way, like I remember years ago, Robert, my husband, was doing some plumbing. He's definitely a handy guy. So he loves to give it a go himself before, and not all the time, but in this case, he found this plumber out of the East Coast somewhere I love this guy. Nothing fancy. He was not trying to, he was just making videos about how to do something. And I said, I love this plumber. Like, what the heck? Generous he is, where he's just like setting up his phone. He's like, all right, here's what's going down. Here's what we got to do. And it was such I said, what an act of selfless giving. Just throw that video up on YouTube and somebody is going to gain some knowledge from it.
Well, the one of my favorite quotes is by the late Charlie Tremendous Jones. What a middle name. But he said that you will be the same person 5 years from now, except for the people you meet and the books you read. And and they're often connected. So I have been throughout my life, starting with this little book, The Power of Aikido, I have been saved over and over again by somebody producing some content. In those days, there was no internet or anything, so it was books. But even today, I still just reading books is one of my passions, and written quite a few as well. And recently got two offers from a publisher out of the blue to write more. But the whole thing is that I was saved, and I then was connected to my teachers. I've met awesome teachers through the books, and then get the trust and credibility, which is one rank as a sign of credibility and trust with your sensei. And then you don't stop there. You have to turn around and give it back. Otherwise, you're not going to live in a cave, right? So, but it's, in a way, I can say it's selfless giving. But if you don't attach to your local self so much, then it's just part of the process, and you learn more by teaching anyway. So you actually benefit as much or more than the people that hopefully that you help.
It's so true. I mean, it's so powerful. And I also think for anybody listening or watching, it also is just to connect with the idea that you are really more supported than you realize.
Yeah.
And when you can reflect on that and write it down, just writing your own story down of how one thing led to another thing, led to another thing.
Yeah.
And at the time, honestly, I can't tell you how many times I would say to myself, especially early on in my courses, where I'm like, why am I even bothering? Like, nobody was doing what I was doing. And it wasn't even profitable in the beginning. And it was so like, I should just, like, I am off, man. Like, what am I doing? I'm pouring all this energy into this thing. And yet, in hindsight, when I look back and I really connect the dots of my own narrative, I realized just how supported I was then. And because now I'm so much more aware, I'm in the business of teaching people about how powerful this is, especially through Wishbeads. It's like a fuel that just, and it just feels so fun. And it takes away all that fear, all the ways that we drain our energy going, is this working? Am I doing the right thing? What do they think? I don't know.
Right. Well, especially on social media, think of all the platforms and new ones coming out all the time.
Yeah.
And if you get caught in, that's the technique part of mind, technique, body. If you just pursue only one of, like, only mind, well, I'm making these affirmations, but nothing's changing. Well, because you have no technique and you have no body, no action. Or if it's all action, but it's all over the place, distracted pursuit, you're not going to get anything done. Yeah. And if it's just technique, I've got the latest software, the latest app, and I'm putting up stuff on 15 different platforms, and I've got all these followers but no money, it's because you don't have the alignment of mind and technique and body. Yeah. Or you're not following the process. So I think particularly with the confusion over what do I do on social media, if you clarify and you have only 5 passions, and at least you know what your top ones are, and you only take action related to your passions, and that's all you do, and then things start very quickly happening for you, then it's not so confusing.
It's not confusing. And the path does become clear because you're taking action, because you have some structure. Well, I have a question for you. Like, I know I'm asking you this live.
No problem.
I mean, so the next thing that I'm launching is I'm revamping alexafischer.com, and I am creating a very special offer, and and it's going to be more of a membership based experience so that I can have way more engagement with my students. But every month I am featuring a different guest teacher to do a webinar together. And I absolutely would love to have you be my guest teacher.
Absolutely. I'm on, the thing about trust, and I have this with several of teachers where whatever they do, I just buy it automatically. I don't even think about, because I know I have benefited so much from the past, and I know I can trust the source. So yeah, I'm in.
Oh, cool. Well, I also think that you have so much that I can learn from you. I've always when I watch your videos, you and I have stayed in touch. I also am a huge fan of Japanese culture and all the stuff that you're doing. This just resonates with me personally. But I'm just so impressed with how you are showing up in the world and how you have so bravely pursued your passions and put in the work, put in the beautiful effort, the journey, and be present to it. And then you're in a place in your life where it's really the teaching part is really seems like a primary focus. And that's fantastic. We need more people like you out there doing
thank you. Well,
your light.
It's not all roses. I mean, it's a lot rosier now than it was, but there are all kinds of things along the way that would make you want to maybe turn back. I mean, even and this was not related to internet or anything, but I used to be in the automotive industry, and things like death threats, and I mean, that's not a fun thing to experience, but you have to be really calm and clear and focused. And the whole purpose of martial arts is to clear your mind of any doubt and not be affected by what turn out to be empty threats. Anyway, there are plenty of real threats in the world, but you can clear a lot of that away if you are very clear about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And also how it serves others, as you point out it.
Yeah.
And I love your website already. It's already great, but I'm looking forward to seeing the new platform.
Oh, it's going to be good. I'm excited about it. I had to actually, I really got so entrenched in Wishbeads, and I think I'm really ready now to really own both those worlds. There's when you're building something, it's really all consuming. And now Wishbeads is in a place where the foundation is laid. I have great people that I'm working with. And I've always been engaged with my students, but I'm ready to sort of play in a different way. I'm ready to kind of shake things up. So 2020 seems like the time. And plus I've got other cool things that I'm working on. And I just, so many fun things.
Yes.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah.
But ironically, isn't it funny though, even the way when things ramp up and I'm still creating things and I've got, these big plans that I'm working on, but I also was very intentional this year. And that's when I started taking ceramics, because I said more doesn't mean more crazy, like more, I'm not sleeping because I'm doing this. No, it's really very, very clear, and doing it with this playfulness, with this spirit of ease and grace, and making the choice, of, you were talking about in sort of your methodology about really you use the word pledge, which I really like. And in a way, I made a pledge to myself this year that the creation was going to come from this feeling of flow. And that if I was not feeling flow in the sort of lens of, should I do this? Should I not do this? If it doesn't come from this place, which really feels like it's coming from this sense of truth and alignment for me, then there's my answer. As opposed to the energy that I've done in the past, which is really much, much more wrought with am I doing this right? Or should I do this? I don't know. Too many things. I can't answer. And
well, the Greek myth, the myth of Sisyphus, who is this person who had to push a big rock up the mountain. And if he stopped pushing, it would roll back. And when he got to the top, it would roll back down, and you have to do it over and over again. So that's what a lot of people are stuck in. That's a powerful story, actually. And then once you realize that you don't have to push it at all, and that there's lots of ways to get to the top of the mountain, and it doesn't even, if the rock wants to be on the bottom, leave it there, and you find greater things, so.
It's so true.
And Alexa, I'm so interested in the fact that you're going to be doing this thing with guest speakers and also the ceramics, because here's another connection. I'm starting a project with a friend of mine who's a tea ceremony master, and we working at a Zen temple that was built in the 1500s. And so we have this awesome, location, and we want to do a virtual tea ceremony. In other words, we'll teach it online. And since you're making bowls, tea bowls, that could be, so we're trying to find a way that people can engage wherever they are in the world without having to learn all the fineries and the etiquette and stuff, and really get to the essence of the tea ceremony.
Okay,
And
I totally want in on that business.
Yeah,
that sounds like so much fun. I actually have been so fascinated with tea ceremony. And there is my friend who is traveling in Japan. I think she's staying there for a month, and I am not sure when. Remember, I said I wanted to introduce you. Talk about that afterward.
Sure. Okay.
There's somebody who I feel keeps thinking you have to meet.
Super. Yeah.
But yes, I am interested. I really, and I have no doubt that my family and I are coming for a visit. We're just saying that now. I don't know when, but we're coming.
Well, you can do some podcasts, broadcasts from Japan then.
Exactly. We'll take this family show on the road.
Yes, definitely.
I like it. But you see how this is so fun. I mean, it just tickles me to no end because, here you were, I put some content out into the world.
Yeah.
You bought a course. We connected. We've actually connected a few times. And you checked out what I was doing over here with Wishbeads. And then you got your Wishbeads. Then you got more Wishbeads. But really what it is exciting is to meet kindred spirits because if this one sort of the positive aspect of the coronavirus, if I might, I know I'm a glass half full girl, but this idea of everybody really understanding that we're all one and we're all in this together. Really. And it's not just in the times of great stress and tricky health scares and whatnot, but we're really just all wanting the same things. And that is one thing that, that's awfully a blanket statement. We want the same things, but at the core, there's fundamental truths about humans and that we're more connected than we realize. I think that's to say. And it's just such an honor to connect with you. It makes me so happy.
Thank you. The honor is mine, Alexa. And, regarding like the negative, news in the media always seizes on the negative news, and it's always like, what's the topic for the day? Like for a while it was North Korea is firing missiles over Japan and they're going to nuke us all, and then you don't hear anything about it. It's like what happened?
And it doesn't mean that they're not still doing that. It just means we've moved on to a different topic.
They always find something to make you worry about and like to help organize and justify your worry. And they don't report the good stuff. And the thing is, there's so many good things happening. Many
beautiful things.
You can find
for anyone listening who really doesn't feel that there are beautiful things, that maybe you're so plugged in to the negative news and the stress that's around you. The best thing that I can tell you is to connect with nature. The best, fastest thing. And if you're living in like the urbanness and you don't feel that there's nature, I really think that the rise in the love of houseplants here in America has been because you can bring that nature to you. But if you look, and I just was contemplating this, we're having some really beautiful weather here in California right now. And there's been all this drama, like stock market, like tanking, the coronavirus, we have the election. It is wow. Okay. Wow. But I was driving and I saw this really tall palm tree. We have palm trees here. They're not we have them. This tall palm tree. And I looked at that palm tree, blue skies, sunshine, and I thought, that palm tree is so beautifully standing there, present in life, and doesn't care at all about the election or the coronavirus or the stock market or anything. There's just this enduring presence that is constant and that is a different energy level than what our monkey brain are typically tuned into. So if anyone is feeling that anxiousness and feeling that it is all consuming, turn off your phone, turn off this podcast, and go and just take a walk in nature. It's walking your dog and noticing flowers or snow or wherever you are. It's just healing. It just is.
For sure. Well, we have 3,000 or more year-old trees here, a lot of them. And they've been standing a long time,
Wow. I think that palm tree is about 70 years old if I'm lucky,
I mean, they were here before Socrates, it's just, and then another thing just real quickly is a waterfall training. And that means literally getting under the waterfall. And then it's part of Japanese mountain shamanism. And there's, you just do it in the summer because it's just too cold or it's frozen in the winter. But in the summer, it's just a very brisk cold, but you get insights. And a couple of years ago, 2 years ago in the summer, I did this in the mountain an hour from where I live, beautiful view of Mount Fuji. And you go in with an issue. And the issue I took into is, how can I more effectively convey Japanese culture, which I teach, so that it will reach more people and downstream will have more impact. That was I had some ideas, but I needed some guidance. So I go into the waterfall, and it's pretty strong current. Yeah. And you know how water is constantly, the sound is changing. It's like a audio Rorschach blot, you know, it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
And you can hear voices. And I heard this distinct voice in Japanese, kame ni nare, which means become a god. That's with a small g. It's like become a god. Well, so, wow, that's like really cool, but I have absolutely no idea how to do that. And a few minutes later, it just hit on me another Japanese word, kamiwaza, which means a divinely inspired technique, or you might think of it as a kata. It's a master pattern. Find the kata, learn them, and teach them. That way you can convey Japanese culture to current and future generations. So that's so cool. Kamiwaza, the divinely inspired technique. So I went back, and it was summer, and college calligraphy class was starting in a month. So I called the calligraphy store, and I said, I need 30 brushes, about 3,000 yen. You choose. I don't know what you've got. Just you choose, and I'll leave that up to you. But just roughly around 3,000 yen. So a couple of days later, the 30 brushes arrived, and on the tube of the brush, it had carved in the name of the brush. They give names to the different brands. And what do you think it was?
Kamiwaza.
Yes. I couldn't believe it. I said, how? I didn't know that brand existed. It's like one of my favorite brushes now. And it's like, if that's not like a message,
I mean,
and that's like,
shut the front door. Like,
yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yes. So you get the message once, and you get it again. And probably my suspicion is that these messages are around us all the time, everywhere, under every rock. It's just that we're too busy, preoccupied with ourselves to notice them. But you do something like the waterfall training, or you get some intention, and suddenly, there's like clues and hints, and it's really fun to find these on the journey. Serendipity.
Serendipity. I love it. Will, you are a delight, and I cannot wait to come and visit you in Japan.
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just such a joy to see you and your passion, and you and your purpose, and you rocking your thing. And don't worry, everybody, in the show notes, I will absolutely have links to Will's website, and you can find links, obviously, to his YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And check out samurai-walk.com, because you want to learn from this person. You just do.
Thank you.
Okay? Take it from me. You do.
Okay. Well,
beautiful.
I'll give that back to you. Take it from me. You should learn from Alexa, because she's the one that got me inspired on this to do this video thing. Because it's not easy. What am I going to say if I feel awkward? What if I run out of things to say? Where do I put my notes? The waza, the technique, part of it, you made so clear, but it was with such passion. It's just, and that I really got so inspired. I still am inspired by that. So I'll just turn it right back to you. That if you want to learn how to do that, go to Alexa's Udemy courses, how to look, so confidence on camera, creating amazing videos, 1,000-watt presence. There's a whole bunch of them.
There are.
Yeah.
And then what's going to be fun?
Reasonable price. Yeah.
Right. They're super, super reasonable. And then, and that's been something that I've just been so honored to be a part of for so long. I'm literally like one of the old timers there. But what I'm excited about now is, hopefully in very short order, I'll be launching something new at alexafischer.com. And we're going to have a portal where, yes, you can still have access to all the classes, but it's also a place for me to actually show up and do weekly calls and do bi-weekly video stuff and have special guests. And because I think that, what I've always done for years is to put the best that I can into all my courses. But I also think it's that consistency, because you're someone who's so disciplined and so driven, but a lot of times people want some real engagement, and they want a place where they can know that someone is actively communicating and actively engaging and actively commentating on what's going on in the world, because it's
well, a mastermind or a tribe or a community. I mean, there are a lot of words for it, but yeah,
Sure.
we do need that. I mean, everybody gets discouraged or runs low on energy at some point, and so we need that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so great. Well, I am going to continue on with my evening while you continue in the future with your day.
Yes.
And
I'm just from the future. Yes.
Greetings.
It's
From
March
March.
1st. Yeah.
You're in March.
Yeah,
when
March
we're recording
1st.
this, it's February 29th where I am.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
It is cool. We're straddling 2 different months, but it's just such a pleasure to finally chat with you, even though we've been email buddies for a while. And I so thank you for, literally all the energy that you put forth in everything that you do. It's just super exciting. And I just know that this is going to be, it's really the beginning of a much longer friendship. So
super. Well, looking for, and let's do the tea ceremony thing for sure.
Definitely. Count me in. I think I'm going to raise my skill set. Did I mention I'm at pinch pots still? I'm at pinch pots.
Oh, okay.
But I'll get there to teapots. Don't you worry.
When you come to, it'll take you to this this temple built in the 1500s. They have a tea bowl there that was made in the early Edo period, 400 years old. And it's just like you can smell before you put the tea in, you just put your nose in, you can smell like a different era. I mean, it's just like, wow. And this thing is a treasury. It is amazing. Worth, it's not for sale, but it's worth probably the same you'd pay for the highest end Mercedes on the market. I mean, it's just such a rare treasure, and it's usually way behind bulletproof glass, but because I know the head priest there, you can actually drink some tea from it, just don't drop it.
Oh my gosh. It's just, that's so astonishing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say after that.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave me speechless.
Yeah. I hope we didn't go on too long, but I enjoyed it enormously, and I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. What a treat to have you on the podcast.
The pleasure is mine. Thanks, Alexa.